Hi, I'm Mark from L&M Small Engines. They be working on a Briggs twin cylinder. It's a 44 cubic inch. I'm going to show you how to adjust the valves on this in like the simplest way there is. So I hope you enjoy the video. So on these twin cylinders, we got to pop the spark plugs out. And we need a 5/8 spark plug wrench. And you don't need to take your motor out of your lawnmower. You can do this with the motor in the lawnmower. You probably have to take the hood off if it's a rider. With zero turns, all this stuff will be in the back unless you have one of them guards. You probably have to take the guard off. But I'm just doing this on the table so you can see it better. Okay, we got the plugs out, and we need to get to the flywheel so I can turn it, but we have this cover on, so I'm going to pop this cover off. It's a 4 5/16 inch bolts. Some don't have these covers on, or the industrial motors have these covers on. Usually they just have the screen on here where so we can turn it. And then the valve covers, there's 4 bolts each on them. And there are 3/8. I hooked this vent hose from the fuel pump. Some of these, instead of gaskets, they glue them on. And some have gaskets in them. These are glued on. To pry these off, only pry on the corners. Don't pry in the centers between the bolts. You don't want to warp the cover, and it will leak. Just set the covers underneath so oil can drip in there. When you pry these off, just do the corners where the bolts go in. But on one of the valve covers, usually the one that don't have the fuel pump vent on it. On the Briggs, on the model number, the first two numbers of the model, that's the cubic inch. This is a 44 cubic inch. Then on the code, the first 2 numbers is the year. So this is a 2012 motor. And when you order parts for them, you have to give them all the numbers you want if you go to a service center or something to order the parts, they like to have all them numbers. Okay, adjusting these is a little bit different than adjusting on a single cylinder. We'll do this side here first. And on Briggs, the push rods, they have aluminum one and a steel one. Normally the aluminum one is on the intake side and the steel one is on the exhaust. Then if you just gotta look and see because they're, when you set them, the exhaust is set a little bit different than the intake. So on this Briggs here, the top ones are the intake, bottom ones are the exhaust. And as you can see, the shiny thing, that's an aluminum push rod, and this one there's a steel push rod. So we're gonna need a Torx. Okay, we're gonna turn the motor. We're gonna stick a screwdriver in there. Just make sure it's clean. You don't want to get no dirt or metal shavings in there. As you turn the flywheel, see how the piston goes up and down. And see the valves are still kind of tight, so you have to turn it 360 degrees so it's on the compression stroke. Swing it around to its top dead center and see they got a little play in them now. So on these here, on the single cylinders, you use the torque to tighten that set pin, but on the twin cylinders you loosen the nut, and you turn this to tighten it or loosen it. And pretty much on the single cylinders and twin cylinders on Briggs are pretty much the same. The intakes on them are between 0.003 and 0.005 for the intakes, and the exhaust is 0.005 to 0.007. So we're just going to round it off in the middle and use a 0.004 and a 0.006. And it'll be set right in the center. You don't want to make them too loose, because the closer they are to the valves, the more the valves are pushed in and more air fuel mixture gets shoved in there. Actually, that's where you get your horsepower. If you have them too loose, you're going to actually lose horsepower, because the valve is not going to open up as much. So on the intake here, we're going to use a 0.004. Stick it between the valve stem and the lifter, and just kind of turn that till you get a little bit of resistance. Like right there. It might take a couple tries, but we'll get this wrench on the screwdriver, and we're going to tighten that nut without moving the screwdriver. And just double check it. It might take one or two times, because if you just move it just a little bit, that's perfect right there. Some people say when you get these top dead center to turn it like a quarter of an inch or something like that. I've never done that in my life, but some people do it, and that's fine. So let's do the exhaust now. That's 0.006. Put it between the lifter and the stem of the valve, and just turn it, tighten it till you get that little bit of resistance, and just put your wrench on your screwdriver. Don't turn the screwdriver. Tighten that nut. Nut locks into place, and we'll double check it. See, that's a little bit too loose, so I must accidentally move something. So we'll just start all over on that one. Just turn this in. So you get a little bit of resistance on there. Right there. And lock it into place and double check it. And there we go. We got that side done. Let's go to this side. We're going to have to move it, because on a 2-cylinder, that side's on its compression stroke. Well, this one here, it's already opened up the intake to let fuel air mixture in this side. So let's go ahead and turn it. Grab a screwdriver, stick it in the spark plug hole, make sure it's nice and clean, there ain't no dirt on it. Get her on top dead center. Make sure your valves are kind of loose. If we turn it 360 degrees, it'll be in the middle of a cycle. And this valve here is tight. So we'll get it on its compression. Make sure it's top dead center. And we'll do the same exact processes on the other side. Loosen that nut up a little bit so we can turn the set screw. And like I said, the intake's on a Briggs. The intake's aluminum, the exhaust is steel. But on the Vanguard ones, it's opposite for some crazy reason. But Vanguard's made by Briggs too. So let's get this .004 feeler gauge between the valve stem and the lifter. And we'll slowly turn it in until we get a little bit of resistance. And don't move that set screw. Don't move the screwdriver. And let's double check it. That was perfect on that one. Now let's do the exhaust. Go and loosen that nut. And we're going to use a .006. Just slowly tighten that up till you get a little bit of resistance. Tighten that nut up. And let's double check it. And there we go. Then we have these valve covers off. Inspect them push rods. Make sure they're not bent. These push rods usually get bent on these twin cylinders when you shut it off and it backfires. Sometimes them push rods will bend. So just kind of make sure everything's good. Make sure there's no metal filings laying in the bottom or anything. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get some glue and glue these back on. And it should be, put some new spark plugs in there and it'll be ready to go. Well, that's a quick, easy way to adjust the valves on a twin cylinder Briggs. And I hope this video helps you out. Appreciate you watching. If you like my videos, please press the like button and please subscribe. Anyways, you guys have a good afternoon.